going in fresh. Let's go. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of our ByuN, we have the South Korean Terran player representing Shopify Rebellion. It is ByuN. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing himself. It is DRG. Here we go. And yeah, again, a DVT between these two players. DRG, of course, I talk about it all the time, even when we're not casting him, which I should probably stop doing, but DRG, one of the few players that is still currently teamless. I know in-game he's on Team NV, but technically Team NV is no longer a thing. They are Club NV, which is a more of a clan sort of status, and they only have one actual salaried player, and that is Creator. Creator, he's still supported by Club NV. Meanwhile, SOS, DRG, the others, they were all let go. Quanta, is there any other coming to mind? But yes, the other players, they did kind of end up leaving said team as they could only afford to sponsor one player, from my understanding, and that is going to be Creator. And DRG is still looking for a place to call home. A lot of the other a lot of the other Korean players that used to be on Team NV, they have since found new homes. You know, you got Nightmare on Matcherino Esports, you got Cure, who's now on Team Liquid. Really cool to see. Meanwhile, Doregu still looking for a place, and I mean, he's still a really damn good player. I know he's very old school, and I do feel like he floats under the radar of Dark and Solar, for example, but DRG, he still gets some damn good results and still can go toe-to-toe with the best of them. As we have our 2 racks. As to be expected here, ByuN is going to be going for a 2 racks Reaper on the low ground, as he typically does in this matchup. And we'll see how hard he commits, we'll see how he deviates as well. So typically the way this build works is you go 2 racks on the low ground, you get into triple Reaper production, and then you go into your third TC, you get into your add-ons as well. You don't actually invest into additional Reapers unless your opponent sneaks out of third base. Speaking of, DRG is going to be hiding this drone here on the right-hand side. Reaper dips in. Gonna dance here with those Lings so far. No major losses yet. DRG just keeping this Reaper busy and successfully hiding that drone. Quite far out, actually. Very far out. You see the Reapers checking here to make sure that there's no third base at the triangular third. Now they're checking the linear third. Again, if there were additional, or if there was a third base, then ByuN would be applying pressure and making an additional wave of Reapers. Interesting deviation. He's making Marines back at home, actually. Delaying his add-ons in favor of Marine production. This is something that I'm not used to. Okay. Reapers, they once again threaten that natural base. Looks like one Reaper is going to go down. A bit of an overstep there from ByuN. Good movement here out of DRG, able to shut that down. Meanwhile, yeah, we do go Marine first. It is going to be a 3cc variation, very economic, but it looks like we were trying to catch or even deflect any kind of Overlord Scout. Meanwhile, we do have that third base being retaken. With only 2 Reapers, there's not really much that can be really done about this. I mean, there was a delay. There was a delay on the third base. ByuN was able to achieve that. But for only a couple of seconds, at least DRG was able to get into this without too much issue. Link speed is done. They're rushing across the map. ByuN, he's aware of link speed being completed, and we are racing back home. And we do manage to get here just in time. Oh, the wall is a wall. The add-ons are done. And interesting. Okay, so we made a handful of extra Marines just to be safe. We do go for the add-on swap. And this is something that Cure and Maru, they have been playing around with. So Cure, instead of going double Hellion, he goes double Cyclone. So it's interesting that ByuN, he is actually transitioning into Hellion production, delaying his Marines. As usually he would just keep the reactor on the racks and just pump out Marines non-stop. So we do have the add-on swap. We do have the Overlord coming in from behind, does scout the main base, does confirm the timing of the third TC. So is aware of the economic follow-up. Hellions are moving out. Now, because of these Hellions that have hit the field, we could actually end up throwing down an armory. Doesn't have to be all in, but we could throw down an armory behind this and go for a Hellbat push alongside the stim time. I'm curious how ByuN wants to bring this all together. But now he is going to be rotating around. Sharking with those Hellions. DRG behind this, going to be joining up his third base, going into double Evo chambers. A very greedy response. I mean, I guess he did scout the third TC, so he knows that he is more or less safe enough to do this. And yeah, we spoke about that armory. Armory is on the way. Now, what is scary here is that because DRG is cutting corners, because he went double Evos, that means, or double Evo chambers, that means that he delayed his lair and he delayed his Bailey nest. Typically, we would have a safety Bailey nest instead, just in case there were a Hellbat push. So DRG, he's cutting corners by doing this. It means Bailings will not be available for the Hellbats. He has to defend with pure Link Queen, which is not impossible depending on the queen count. We have 8 queens, soon to be 9 queens. 8 queens in total. That is going to be enough if we can bring everything together. So here we go. DRG is going to be bringing forward his queens. Lings are rushing forward as well. The army hasn't spotted, I believe, barely grazed by some of that creep. Raxes have been spotted, or additional Raxes have been spotted as well. Thirsty Season at landed on location, and ByuN is pushing. Remember, this is not all in, by the way. He does have a third base, but still a committed push nonetheless, and he's diving on forward. Oh, one queen is going to go down. We don't have agent for transfuse. We can't transfuse. Lings, they try to engage, but they get punished for it. Oh my god. So far, another queen goes down. We're making our way forward. We're trying to get some more queens. A third queen, a fourth queen, and we're going to get almost every single queen here. The Lings, they just cannot keep up. A fourth queen. Yeah, we're going to get... Did I say 6? I meant to say 8. GG gets called. The Hellbat push gets out of control, and ByuN takes game number 1. GG. Oh, GG, well played. Yeah, a bit of a brutal push there. Again, ByuN, he was not all in by any means, but as we tried to point out there, specifically because DRG was cutting corners, because he opted to skip that Bailey nest and be a little bit greedy, he was punished. He was punished for it. Now, ByuN didn't necessarily know that his opponent was skipping Bailings at the time. I mean, I say that, he was already transitioning and making Hellions to begin with. But I think once he did see the wall, once he did notice what was going on, that may have triggered ByuN to go for the armory, to go for the Hellbat push. And yeah, really good way to punish a Zerg player that does decide to skip their Bailey nest, does decide to cut corners and be a little bit too greedy. And yeah, DRG caught with his pants down. GG, well played. ByuN will take game number 1. And now we're getting into game number 2. Let's go. Again, this also shows the power and the danger of a Terran player that does go for the add-on swap and go into Hellions instead. We theorized it at the time that, I mean, it doesn't guarantee that a Hellbat push is coming, but that becomes an option suddenly, and it's something that you have to respect. And here we go, we're getting into game number 2, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of site Delta, we have the South Korean Terran player representing Shopify Rebellion, leading the series 1-0. It is ByuN. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player going for a 15-15. Interesting build choice here. Interesting opener by DRG. Oh, just said his name. It's our Korean Zerg player. He is red. He is DRG. The one true dong himself. There it is. So it's going to be a 15 hatchery into a 15 spawning pool. So this is a really interesting opener that has risen in popularity, specifically against 2-Raxes. The reasoning for this is a way to be greedy. So essentially with this build, you're going to be getting a faster spawning pool, which means faster queens, which means delayed gas. Delayed gas here, later Ling speed. We're going to be ideally cutting Lings and making extra drones as a result. And we're going to try and defend with primarily queens. We should make an extra pair of Lings later on just to be safe, but mainly queen defense is what we have to be reliant on. So DRG going for something very different here, and again, this has been a little bit popular over the past couple of months. In the rise of ByuN's 2-Rax opener, we have seen the rise of the 15-15. Even before that as well, with Eric, of course, popularizing it against Protoss, but now with ByuN going for these more aggressive openers, it now allows this to kind of have a place in this matchup as well. The 15-15, I mean. Because now we're going to be getting into those gases. Going to be joining up as much as we can. Spawning pool's about to finish up to get into those queens, and there we go. Queens are immediately on the way. Likewise, ByuN once again going for the 2-Rax. Here we go. I was Reapers are going to be moving out. Once again, ByuN should only invest into 3 Reapers. Now, the fall-off that we saw last game doesn't necessarily apply here, where we saw ByuN go for an add-on swap and go into Hellions. That isn't always the case with ByuN, so we're going to have to keep an eye on it. And thankfully for this Overlord, thankfully the pillar is right next to the production. DRG, he should be able to spot any kind of deviation from this 2-racks. First Reaper has arrived. As you mentioned before, oh no! As I mentioned before, again, there are no links to defend. With a 15-15, you have to defend with only queens, and 1 drone goes down already. This is kind of not being worth it. We force out a Spore, which is okay, but losing a drone is quite brutal. The queens are out of position. We're going to get a second. No shot. We get a second drone. We're going to almost get a third drone as well. Ay, ay, ay. A pair of lings were forced out. The goal here for DRG with this opener was to skip these lings, by the way. And I mean, he was, but he had to make them because things were taking a turn for the worst. Behind this, we can see ByuN making an extra Reaper, actually going up to 4 Reapers, going to 5 Reapers. He doesn't need them because he's already containing his opponent. DRG does not have a third base. He doesn't have a drone to take a third either. Creep Tumor goes down. ByuN getting so much with this. Ling speed about to kick in. And these lings can finally keep up with ByuN. But again, we have a late third base and we have a couple of dead workers as well. Tumor is going to be replaced. Thankfully for DRG, ByuN is rotating over towards the right hand side. 1 Reaper goes down. And there's a bit of a give and take here. On the one hand, ByuN did a lot of really good damage. On the other hand, he did make extra Reapers, which were a little bit unnecessary, as we can see here. Those 2 dead workers were already killed with the first 3, so this 4th and 5th Reaper haven't really added too much here. Link speed has been revealed and ByuN has to back off. You could argue that maybe because of the extra Reapers, it forced maybe an extra couple of lings out from DRG. That's possible here, but the downside is that because of the extra Reapers, it also means that the add-ons are delayed. It means that Stim, Reactor, these Marines, all of this is slightly later than we otherwise would have seen. And as we can see, this time, there is no add-on swap. This time there's no factory to go onto the reactor to pump out Hellions. It's a straight up 3cc 2-on-1 with a prioritization of Marine production. So this means that ByuN isn't going to be active, obviously not going to be active with Hellions anytime soon, not going to push out, there's no threat of a Hellbat push. Instead, he's going to be heavily reliant on this double medevac timing. It's going to be 16 Marines, 2 medevacs, and Stim moving out across the map, and DRG needs to be ready for it. Likewise, he needs to know when to cut workers, when not to. Once again, this time going double EVAs. Double EVA chambers? Double EVA chambers for double upgrades. This time, DRG shouldn't be punished for this. This time, there's no need for a Baneling Nest because there's no Hellions, there's no threat for Hellbats, and Banelings this early on are typically not ideal against these Marines. It's unnecessary. So, again, just going pure Ling Queen is okay for DRG. He should be able to keep up as long as he's in position, as long as he has enough lings. And again, he should be able to drone freely here, saturating his 3 bases. Here we go, ByuN is moving out, bearing in mind he also has those Reapers to support. KDA charges can actually be quite impactful in these fights. 1 Overlord goes down, we're going for a second. DRG, he does notice, he's pulling that Overlord back immediately. Queens are in position, we do have 1 Transfuse. We're diving for Transfuse is going to be used. We can see the Lings ready for a dive. We don't want to throw them away. We want to wait for the Terran army to commit and then go for the surround. So a bit of a dance going on here. Both armies posturing. Tumors are going to go down. But as you can see here, DRG, he's holding. Again, Link Queen is all you need. As long as you have enough of it, you should be okay. Oh god. So many active tumors here without a scan, more importantly. Behind this, ByuN is getting his 3rd base up and running. Getting into the rest of his setup, he should be getting into 5 racks. There we go, 5 racks and 1 factory, 1 starport. We dive on top of the 4th hatchery, and this hatchery, it's gonna be cancelled. Oof. We do catch a couple of units as, you know, we had a double medevac drop full of Marines, and the Reapers were left behind. Could not fit in. But again, a really good moment here, forcing a cancel. DRG has to double expand to make up for it. Getting a 4th and 5th at the same time. Creep is respreading. But DRG, he's still trying to get into the mid game, still working on it. Lings do catch a second drop on the right hand side. These Lings to engage. They kill one Marine. Job going to be keeping these Lings busy. At the same time, DRG, he did see this push. The Queens and some Ling Bane are rotating over. 1-1 kicking in. Banelings on the way. Again, this is the advantage of rushing into these two Evo chambers, is that DRG is slightly ahead in upgrades, or I should say keeping up in upgrades with the Terran. Does mean that Baneling speed is delayed, but you don't need it at the moment. Let's might just go. Ooh. So far, we do drag one of them away. The other does go down without triggering. And so far, DRG, he is holding on. There is another Widow Mine, but one Widow Mine should not be enough to turn the tables, turn the tide. Oh! We do get a couple of Lings. Once again, we force this back. Oh, chasing this off of Grief, the Banelings! Banelings, they are going to be targeted down. Ay, ay, ay. A big overextension from DRG. Big loss of gas. But he does force ByuN back, and he's able to keep up with the drop on the left-hand side. Taking down another tumor. Oh no! Taking down another Reaper, but the tumors, they go down. Being a little bit too ambitious with that. But regardless, DRG, he's holding nonetheless. He gets his 4th and his 5th base up and running, and now he can saturate. Now he can get up to 80 workers. Bailing speed is done this time. What the Bailings are not gonna be wasted. Oh god, no! Some of them are gonna be wasted as ByuN is having fun trying to trade one Marine for one Bailing, just dropping on top of the army. Very cute micro here out of ByuN. Now he's pushing through the center. Meanwhile, DRG, he's working up towards Ling Bane Hydra. That's his army composition. And so far, this drop is going to be denying some mining time, but bearing in mind that drones have not died. We saw a cancel on a hatchery, and we did see a couple of workers go down at the start of the game, but this drop play, these pushes, this harassment has been doing the damage that he's been really looking for. ByuN is being forced back once again. Dropping the main base, being cleaned up, only one Marine left, which means DRG can focus on this main push. Additional Banelings on the way, 2-2 on the horizon. It is going to kick in before the 2-2 of ByuN. Drops are going down to the Banelings. Some of them are being cancelled. At the same time, ByuN moving out once again with another triple drop this time. Trying to gain ground. The Queens, they are holding strong at the front lines. Banelings rolling in. The target, oh god! The target firing, looking good. ByuN does pull back, but once again, he does not touch the economy. The only workers that have been killed so far, the 2 at the start of the game. ByuN pushing on the right-hand side, reinforcing with Widow Mines with the rest of his army. The reinforcements out here yet. Ooh, big connection though. A massive chunk of Ling Bane does go down. Another, oh my god! We catch the army though! DRG took a Widow Mine to the face, but ByuN takes Banelings to the face though. A good trade for DRG. Meanwhile, no! That's a kill, not a cancel on the 6th base. Ay, ay, ay. DRG being just pulled apart here, being stretched thin. His creep is looking okay connecting the bases, but it's really just doing that. Barely reaching the halfway mark. Still doubling down here on his Ling Bane Hydra. Has decided not to take up even further. Still no hive, no infestation pit. We are stuck on Lair Tech, which for the time being is okay, but the longer this goes on, the more worse it might become, because 3-3 is starting up for ByuN. 3-3 nowhere near starting for DRG. DRG was doing such a great job keeping up with the upgrades, even getting into a faster, slightly faster 1-1 and slightly faster 2-2. That would be the case for 3-3. Oh, the Bailey's good connections. Very nice connections from DRG at the same time, dropping to the natural, but DRG is keeping up. Once again. Ooh. Forcing out some of those Widow Mines. Army's gonna be pushing forward. The mine, oh, does connect on those Lings. Oh my god, so many Lings going down to the mines. ByuN forcing this back throughout all of this. It looks like he will force a cancel on the 6th hatchery once again, taking another Bailey to the face behind this. Got a decent economy, don't get me wrong, but he has been trading. And every now and then, especially when it comes to his drop play, he has been losing quite a lot. ByuN not really getting the momentum that he's been looking for. And again, not getting the economic damage that he's been hoping for. These drops, he's been trading with Ling Bane, not trading with drones. So once again, DRG is keeping up with those drops. Trading with the army. Oh, Widow Mines get focused down. Couple couple of mine shots do go off. Not the best connections from ByuN. DRG still going to be diving on this army. Where are the winter mines? Up! The mines! Ooh. Does connect with Lings. No friendly fire. That's what I was looking for. The drop play once again gets cleaned up. Once again, ByuN doesn't touch the economy. DRG has been sitting happily on 85 workers for quite some time. But ByuN, he keeps the aggression on. Triple drop here towards the north. Main army rotating towards the south. Again, there's very limited crease spread here. So ByuN wants to try to take advantage of that. DRG doesn't know where the army is going to be coming from. He does split it up. Or does split up his own. Up. We don't want to engage off of creep. Engines are being sent out at the same time. Doom drop in towards that fifth. Bailing's going to try to engage. Up. Ooh. We do clean up those winter mines at the same time. Oh my god, finally some economic damage is done. 13 drones go down and ByuN, he picks up, drops into the main. DRG up until this point was doing a great job keeping up with all of this, just stopping any kind of economic damage. As I say that though, DRG does redrone instantly. The Marines, they're actually getting overstimmed. Medevacs are being focused out at the same time. ByuN, he's not pushing, he's cleaning up these rocks. He is forced out. Hive is done. Lurker Den finishing up. Give us the lunkers, Papi. Still no 3-3, unfortunately, for DRG. Just doesn't really have the resources for it. Still just remaxing, rebuilding, getting into Vipers first. As ByuN pushes on through. Get a couple of mine shots going up. Alas, it looks like ByuN, he is running out of steam here. At the same time, though, he's just dropping all over the map. Gets another 10 workers, snipes another hatchery. Even gets a queen and even more drones. So ByuN, he did peter out with his main army, but he's getting economic damage done once again. Pulling DRG apart. Still unable to make use of those lurkers. Drop being cleaned up here on the front lines. These middle mines, they reset, but lunkers are on the way. And what's important here, ByuN, do we have a Ghost Academy? We do not. No Ghost Academy, no Liberator production. These lurkers, they do signify a pretty big power spike here for DRG. Against ByuN mine, lurkers are ideal. Ooh, mine shot is going to be going off, even forcing some friendly fire as well. And there's just no answer to lurkers. Now the question becomes, ByuN, he has spotted them. Where's the Ghost Academy? We need a Ghost Academy or a Fusion Core for Lib range, a second starport. For now, still hyper aggressive, hyper fixated here on ByuN mine. Meanwhile, we have 3 lurkers so far for DRG. Cleans up a couple of mines. DRG's goal here is to slow the game down. Things have been very high paced because of all these drops. Once again, ByuN, he does bypass the main army, going straight for that mineral line. Up. Does catch a couple of workers. Ooh. Woodermine barely does go. Oh, God. One Woodermine went down, the other does go off. Drop into the main base at the same time. ByuN pushing on towards the north. Towards the south even. North and south. Good power bombs here. All these medevacs. Vipers will make it out. But only Lings to clean this up. We need the Bailings. Same time, ByuN breaking through towards the south, and we need more lurkers. Where are the lunkers? We still only have 3 big connections. Oh my god. ByuN overextending, pushing into Bailings. DRG, he's barely holding on here. Cleans up the drop in the main, cleans up the push here towards the south. How many lurkers do we have? Still only 3. Now there we go, 2 more on the way. And ByuN, he's still just not slowing down, still just hyper fixated here on this army. The friendly fire. The mine shots go off. They clean up the Marines. Good drags here from DRG. Shut down some of these mines. The lurkers, they're pushing forward. And now the lurkers, as they're being used aggressively, how do we engage? ByuN is trying to set up a surround. Trying to come in from multiple angles, but now we have a 4th and 5th lurker. Oh, he's coming from behind. The lunker. Ooh, one will go down. We dive on the others, and it looks like we're going to be able to clean some of them up, but at the same time, DRG, he breaks on through. 1 lurker survives. A good trade, honestly. A good trade for ByuN, but he plummets in the supply. Again, ByuN, because of this army, like ByuN, he's playing with like a glass cannon essentially. Like it's a very fragile army, very high DPS. You can replace it, but the goal here for ByuN is to trade on DRG's side of the map, not on his own. Once DRG forces ByuN back, ByuN, he's having some issues here. Again, no tanks, no defensive lines, just Marines and Widow Mines. DRG, he has a little bit of room to breathe here. Now have an additional lurker. It is under fire here, but it's holding on. Oh my god! Once again, the friendly fire. ByuN even landing his main base here as his own 5th. As his own 6th even, as he's mining here from his upper 5th base. DRG rolling on forward. Having a hard time connecting with those Banelings. Trading well enough, but the Hydras are exposed as well, and ByuN is going to be able to clean this up. Forcing this back, still committed here to ByuN. Essentially, this playstyle from ByuN is like, it's pretty all in, like what he's doing. I hesitate to say all in, but it just like there's no taking from here. You know, we're just hammering in, just nothing but Marines, nothing but Widow Mines, no additional gases. We can't really afford a transition at the moment, not without taking extra gases. Here we go, Ling Bane rolls on forward. We catch the Marines. Oh my god, the blinding clouds doing so much here for DRG. A bit of an overextension though from our Zerg player, losing a lot of Hydras here in the process. Lurkers do get thrown away, but here comes some more Ling Bane. A bit of a messy fight here for the Zerg player, but there's just so little to defend. Now it looks like we break this base. Going for the mineral line. The Banelings, they do crash forward. They connect with the SCVs and the Marines as well. ByuN's forcing this back, but DRG's on 90 workers. ByuN's down to 50. This is trying to break through, trying to push back the Zerg army. But again, DRG can remax, ByuN cannot. Not anymore. Like with this playstyle from ByuN, you need momentum. You need a momentum on your side, and ByuN, he had it for a bit there. For the most part, DRG was able to keep up. For so long, and here come the Banelings, the mines. God, big Widow Mine shots. But here come the Vipers, now full of energy. We have some Liberator Harass moving out across the map. ByuN doing everything he can. Oh god! But the Banelings, they connect. The Banelings, they do connect. Lings hit into the mineral line as well. Looks like once again this 6th base is going to be broken. GG gets called, and DRG takes game number 2, forcing the ace match. GG. Oh my god. ByuN, he was just hyper aggressive this entire game, and this is how ByuN plays, to be fair. Obviously, as we saw, there's a downside to it, right? It's like if you're not able to start knocking over those dominoes, if you're not able to get momentum and cripple the economy and keep the Zerg player at home, if you're unable to kill them before they take up into something like lurkers, then ByuN's army does get outscaled. It gets outscaled as the game goes on. As we saw, he was very... Despite seeing the lurkers, there was that moment when he saw the first couple of lurkers being morphed in. He had a choice to make there. He could either invest into additional gases and invest into some tech labs and go into ghost production and tank production, or just double down and commit to Marines and Widow Mines. That's all he was making. Marines, Widow Mines, and Medevacs. Like, no Marauders, no tanks, no ghosts, no Liberators towards the end, only to harass. Like, again, it was very one-track mind from ByuN. And to be fair, he believed that he could break his opponents. And I'm sure he's done so in the past. I'm sure he has done so in the past. But here in game 2, he could not. And which means we get a game 3, an ace match. Let's go. Let us go. So we're going to be loading in to Solaris. So a very intense playstyle out of ByuN. And I can't imagine he's going to be doing that again 2 games in a row. I feel like that's something... Oh my god, as... These CVs, they're still following. One of them's not doing it. Get back to it. There we go. As we're loading into game 3 on Solaris and spawning in the top and sorry, the bottom left-hand corner of Solaris, we have the South Korean Terran player representing Shopify Rebellion. It is ByuN. Having a hard time getting his workers under control there, but it's all good. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player, the Red Zerg, representing himself. Once again, going for a 15-15 opener. It is DRG. So once again, it's a 15 hatch into a 15 spawning pool. We saw that this wasn't really a successful opener last game. If you recall, DRG did end up losing 2 drones at the beginning, and he also had to lay third base as well, was forced to make extra lings. ByuN, he had a good start to that previous game, but this time we have a very different opener. ByuN going for a CC first. Spirit, is that you? This is what I love out of ByuN. So ByuN, he does mix this in every now and then, and I think this is a really good way to play with your reputation. So as you can imagine, who won the last match? DRG. Ace match. DRG won the last game. As you can imagine, ByuN, he has a reputation. He has a reputation about going for the 2-Rexes game after game after game. So this is why it's really powerful for ByuN to mix in very greedy openers like this, like a CC first. Especially because like his traditional 2-Rex opener on the low ground does deter any kind of early game, like any kind of early gas builds, like gas first into a roach rush or into a ling flood. They actually fail really hard against any kind of 2-Rex opener from ByuN, as he's shown us time and time again. So he should be able to get away with this. Like, there's nothing that DRG, especially with a 15-15 with delayed gases, there's nothing that DRG can do about this, and ByuN will just have an economic advantage here in game number 3. From here, going to be getting into a second Rex, getting into his, I imagine, oh, I was going to say a 2-1-1. This is looking like a 4-Ax. Let's go. So, a greedy economic opener, followed by something very aggressive here. We should be seeing a 4th Rex thrown down, and this is going to be a massive stim timing here for ByuN. There it is, the 4th Rex is on the way. This is something that ByuN does have in his repertoire, or in his, again, up his sleeve, as builds that he does have available, and DRG, he needs to scout this ahead of time, otherwise he will be caught out, and he may just die. Now, this is not all in. This is designed to move out to deal damage. It does need to trade at least with queens and get economic damage done, because you are delaying your third. You're delaying your third base by quite a lot, so you do have to trade, but you don't have to kill. Cripple is maybe the better way to put it, to make this build worth its while. And to be fair, it also has the potential to kill as well if DRG doesn't realize what's going on. Meanwhile, back at home, as we mentioned before, this was a 15-15 opener from DRG. And it's not a bad build to be going up against a CC first, just because you do get extra workers. But it does mean that your third base is a little bit later, your gases are a little bit later. We're actually staying in gas. DRG. Are we going roaches? I am curious. There's no reason to stay in gas here this long without good reason. This could be a fast lair. This could be a fast roach warren. This could even be 2-base muta. I mean, that would lead into the fast lair, of course. So very curious to see what this gas is going to be used on. So ByuN, he isn't the only one being aggressive. We see DRG being a little bit cheeky tech-wise as well. There it is. We do have a Bailey Nest thrown down. So actually looking more safety here from DRG. Going for a Bailey Nest first. I imagine this will be leading into a lair as well. Lings are going to be checking. They're going to be scouting. They do get eyes on the Marines, but only the Marines. This still looks like a 2-1-1. And an early Bailey Nest isn't really going to help with that. So again, it looks like the earlier gases were just for safety. It looks like DRG was maybe a little bit paranoid about like an earlier push. And here we go. Marines are going to be moving out. But again, Bailings aren't really going to help here. There we go. ByuN with a mass amount of Marines he has installed. We need as many Lings and Queens as possible. We'll see if we can hold on. 4 Bailings are on the way. The Queens, they do have to hold on here. And with enough transfuses, we should be good. We should be able to survive this as we stim on in. And we dive on top of the Queens. And it looks like 1 Queen does go down. The Lings, they try to come in first round. And can we target down the Bailings? We can. Every single Bailing goes down. They do not connect. This is why I mentioned that Availness doesn't really help you here. I mean, it does hold on in the end, but no big connections. And ByuN makes it out with most of his Marines. Looking at the trade here, he killed 1 Queen, 26 things, and 4 Banelings. But DRG does hold. He holds because this army is threatening, but we already stimmed once. And because this push is actually without medevacs, every stim counts, and you only have 1, maybe 2 at most, in the chamber. And then we gotta back off. So ByuN retreats, DRG survives. Now, what's scary though is that we're not done. There's a second wave, there's a second phase to this. The second phase is, because ByuN did keep most of his Marines alive, they're gonna be alive, and they're going to be supported by these medevacs. We're going to be seeing an add-on swap here with the factory and the starport. Medevacs are soon going to be upon us, and ByuN is coming in with reinforcements. He's coming in with wave number 2. Again, he has to be very careful with how and when he stims. 5 more Banelings are on the way. And again, looks like ByuN, he's just skirting the edge here. He's just cleaning up creep. He doesn't want to commit. He wants to wait for those medevacs. It would be an anti-timing if he attacks now. We need those medevacs to help support, to help sustain this army. Meanwhile, third base is being taken on location, or it's being landed on location. So far, the trades of ByuN have been good enough. And behind this DRG, he's now taking his 4th. Going to be droning, going to be saturating. Lair is done. Bailing speed is on the way. We're getting into our upgrades. Evo chambers. I keep wanting to say eBase or eVase. I don't know why. And there it is. The drop play is upon us. ByuN does make it back home. And this double medevac drop is going to be hitting with 1-1. Well, 1-1 is still a couple of seconds away, but it should finish up momentarily. DRG going to be moving out. Does catch the drop. Gets 1 Marine. DRG's going to keep on pushing, but he runs into the ByuN army. Again, a little bit ambitious here from DRG. Going to be backing off. Still heavily reliant on Ling Bane. Unfortunately, okay, there we go. I was like, he only has 1 Evo chamber, but there we go. Second Evo chamber is thrown down, getting into 1-1. Slowly saturating the space, but ByuN, he does have the better economy. Surprisingly so. Even though ByuN hasn't really killed any workers, he has forced out an army. He's been forcing DRG to make Ling Bane, which means we are lacking in our economy here. DRG just cutting workers at 3 base saturation. As a result, he is falling behind in that economy. Meanwhile, ByuN pushing towards the north. The longer this goes on without DRG droning, this is looking like an all-in. This is looking very committed from our Zerg player. Yeah, the Queens are looking to move out. Ling Bane is amassing. And there we go. DRG finally does make a handful of workers. But that's a little bit worrisome. He's droning now, but these drones are so late. ByuN is pushing on the right-hand side. He does catch the Queens. Ooh, Queens are going to be going down. The Ling Bane has to engage. Good spread. We do force ByuN the hell out of here, but he killed half of the Queens already, and at the same time, another drop here. Do keep up, though. DRG, he is keeping up here with the drop play. Only losing 2 drones so far. But only 2 workers. ByuN, he regroups with the rest of his army. How many Queens do we have left? Ooh, 6 Queens. 1 for each base. How many did we catch? Oh, 7! Ay, ay, ay. It's a lot of Queens going down. ByuN is going to back off. He's getting its 4CC up and running. Again, he's not going for a 3-base all-in. Meanwhile, DRG going for his own counterattack. Hitting that 3rd, and there is not much here in position. Marines just now retreating. Widow Mines are going to be going up. More so on Lings, less so on Banelings. They do crash in. They get into the mineral line at the same time, though. ByuN, he catches an entire mineral line himself. 17 SCVs go down. 12 drones go down. ByuN, he's not stopping down. Oh my god. As these mine shots, they do reset. And as the dust does settle, ByuN, I would say a better economic position, bearing in mind that he has mules, as well as that 4CC. He's going to be regrouping. He's up in army supply. He's looking to move out. And DRG, he's still just trying to rebuild. Does clean up those mines at least. Hatchery towards the north, taking a lot of damage. Can we get the kill? Up! Oh my god. Not quite. Doesn't quite get the kill, but he can always come back in. And ByuN is getting ready for his move out. And +3 on the way. We are investing into Marauders as well. Unlike the previous game, he isn't just hyper fixated on just pure Marine and Widow Mine. He's taking extra gases and he's taking up a little bit further. A little bit. As DRG is trying to stabilize, still just redroning, working towards now his Hydrogen to go into link main Hydra. Does take down the full medevac. But again, DRG is still recovering. He had a low worker count to begin with, and then he had to rebuild. DRG, he needs time. Oh, oh my god. It's a hot pickup. We barely do save those Marines. Iron Drop Luna come back in, but alas, DRG, he's got eyes on this. Again, in general, like throughout this entire series, DRG, he's done a really good job at just tracking these drops at least. But at times they do still find damage, and we're going for the hatchery. We want it. We're not gonna get it. Quad drop going into the main. Meanwhile, ByuN has maxed out. Julian Claws on the way, +3 attack. And unlike the previous game, this time DRG doesn't have lurkers to hold the line. He's being spread thin by these drops. They do crash on forward. But the Marauders, they do stand their ground. They do a great job soaking some of those hits. And ByuN can keep pushing. Looks like he has finally broken this base. Up into the main. The Queens are trying to hold on. Hydras as well, but these are not going to be good trades for DRG. Up! The mines! Don't go off. That was close, but regardless, ByuN still pulling his opponent out of position. Main rolling on forward, crashing into the Marauders. Drop comes back in. DRG can only be in one place at once because of his low supply. Hydras are being focused down. Good target firing out of ByuN. The medevacs, they barely do escape. Barely get out of there. DRG's economy is now in a better position than it once was. But he's still just taking up, still working on those Hydra upgrades, still trying to settle them down. Do we have a Hive? No. No Hive, no Vipers, no Adrenal, no 3-3. Tech-wise, DRG is just being left behind. Stuck on a Lair Tech army. He needs some good fights. He needs some good trades. With its friendly fire from the Widow Mines. Oh. Might just go up on the Lings and the Hydras as well. So far, the spread looking good. We're running out of Banelings, and without Banelings, the Hydras are so exposed. And these Banelings as well, they will not finish. They will be focused down. One of them does complete with reinforcements. DRG, he's going to barely force this back. ByuN, he's still just macroing hard behind this, coming with another triple drop. Will be forced back. Oh, it does get cleaned up, actually. Not a bad moment. Not a bad moment for DRG. The Hive just now on the way. Oh, Widow Mines are resetting. DRG gonna be chasing this back, but you can see the creep is slowly receding. ByuN gaining more ground. On the mines! A bit of friendly fire. Just a bit. Still mainly Lings go down. It's ByuN once again just not slowing down here, going for constant drop play. These drops are running out of steam. It's mainly Marauders. Come and catch the army. Up! Oh, we almost do. This does catch those Marines. Mine shot does go off. Dropping the main base, not quite achieving much, keeping some of the supply at bay, but you can see that ByuN, at this point, it is a numbers game. Forcing some friendly fire, but where's the link vein? Ay, ay, ay. Mine shot's going to be going off. ByuN trying to rally on in. So is DRG. Coming in with everything he has. Barely getting on top of some of those Widow Mines. Meanwhile, he actually pulled the army that was in the main base to help support this. Which means the drops, they're getting tech, they're getting damage done. And Hydras alone, they cannot break through. The spawning pool is going to go down, and that means what you see is what you get. We have 20 more Lings in production, but we need that spawning pool. This army pretty heavily overstimmed, actually. We've been losing Metamax. But the Hydras, not like this. Expensive losses here for DRG. Does force this back, but that was, what, 7, 8 Hydras going down. Spawning pool just now on the way. Just now noticed that it was lost. ByuN, he can just keep this push going. For a while now, he has been enjoying an extra base. 5 base setup. Likewise, DRG dropping in workers. Hasn't had the luxury to be able to find the time to rebuild them. Now we have 8 more drones on the way to try to catch back up. No Adrenal. +3 Cafe still in production. The mine! Oh my god. God. The mines are going to be connecting. ByuN has reached that 200 supply mark. We do force some friendly fire. That's like the world where DRG can like win a fight here is like a mass round. We force some friendly fire from these Widow Mines. But he's just so heavily reliant on these Hydras. And the reason for this is because he had to only make Hydras. That's all he could make because he lost the spawning pool. So for some time, he's just been making pure Hydra. Now we have Lings on the way, finally. Yeah, but another base is falling. Slowly but surely, DRG losing ground here on his own side of the map. We have 18 Bailings on the way. They can definitely help, but you can see ByuN pre-spreading. Okay, so if you roll in and they crash into some of the ByuN. But we can still stand strong. And GG gets called. ByuN, he has too much. He got into the mineral line, he took down another base, and ByuN will take the series 2-1, taking down DRG. Oh, GG. GG, well played. ByuN does take it in the end, advancing on here in this best of 3. But a shout out to DRG again. For the most part, he was able to keep up, and he looked damn good as well in game number 2. Like, game 2 was a game where ByuN, like, he was just maybe a little bit too overconfident, is maybe the best way to put it. Believing that he could break his opponent without taking up, and ByuN was punished for it in game 2. Here in game 3, I do feel like a lot of this also came down to, obviously, it came down to the openers. The fact that ByuN, 1, went for a really greedy CC first, and 2, went for a 4-axe that went unscattered. It did go unscattered, and DRG didn't have the best setup to defend. Remember, he went for an earlier Bailey Nest, went for delayed Evo Chambers, and that 4-axe push did trade very well. And as we mentioned at the time, that's all it has to do. It has to trade well against the army, and ByuN was able to maintain that Marine count and just maintain control of that game from that point onward. Like, these openers, I feel like they're really important for ByuN to gain momentum, and once he does, like, he can look unstoppable in ZVT. The same was with game number 1 with the Hellbat push, for example. Can be a difficult player to read just because he has so many variations and deviations even from his first 2 racks. So GG, well played. And again, a shout out to DRG forcing that ace match, and ByuN advances on into the quarterfinals, into his next series where he's going to be facing off again against Cure. Oh my god. I mean, it makes sense. ByuN, Cure, and Gumiho, they are the most active Korean Terran players in the online tournament scene. They are very active, so they face off week after week after week, day after day, and we just casted these two yesterday. Actually, I think we missed it. Sorry, we didn't get to cast them, but we saw them in yesterday's Kung Fu Cup, and Cure did bring ByuN down. in that tournament in Kung Fu Cup. So can ByuN fight back here in these TvTs? They do often go back and forth. When I think of Gumiho, Kyo, and ByuN, their TvT is all pretty comparable with each other, all very strong. But ByuN has a very specific play style, a very specific style here in TvT, where he, instead of going tank Viking, he goes for some very heavy medevac play, very heavy drop play instead, and it can look really impressive, it can look really strong, again, if he's able to get the ball rolling early on. Otherwise, it gets completely shut down, and and his opponents can look very, very powerful as a result and very impressive. So I'm curious to see how this does play out.